The dying blue star cast a cold, ghostly light across the assembly point, its fading brilliance reflecting off hundreds of warships gathered in silent orbit. This was no ordinary meeting. It was the Galactic Alliance's most sacred tradition, the showcase of power. A ceremony where civilizations unveiled their finest vessels, proving their strength, their innovation, and their place among the stars. One by one, the great empires presented their warships. The Valkyrie unveiled a crescent-shaped dreadnought that shimmered like liquid glass, its surface rippling with adaptive shielding. The Threx Dominion followed, displaying a massive carrier surrounded by autonomous drone swarms that moved like a living storm. The Ilari brought elegance, sleek, blade-like cruisers that bent light around them, appearing and disappearing like phantoms. Each reveal drew murmurs of admiration. Each ship was a masterpiece. And then, humanity arrived. At first, no one noticed. There was no grand entrance, no burst of energy, no distortion of space-time. Just a slow-moving object drifting into the edge of the assembly zone. It didn't shine. It didn't glide. It simply moved, heavy, deliberate, almost stubborn. When the sensors finally locked onto it, confusion spread. The ship was crude. Its hull was thick, uneven in places, marked by visible seams and reinforced plates. It lacked the smooth, flowing design common among advanced species. There were no glowing shield arrays, no elegant weapon ports. Instead, massive cannons protruded from its sides, solid, mechanical, unmistakably physical. Its engines emitted a low, constant rumble rather than the near-silent hum of advanced propulsion systems. For a moment, there was silence. Then the laughter began. "They brought that," one Valkyrie observer scoffed. "It looks like debris held together by desperation," another added. "A relic," someone muttered. "A museum artifact." Across dozens of observation decks, alien dignitaries leaned forward, studying the human vessel with a mix of amusement and disbelief. This was the species that had recently joined the Alliance. This was their show of strength. A few attempted scans, expecting to uncover hidden sophistication beneath the rough exterior. They found none. No advanced energy shielding. No exotic matter cores. No dimensional distortions. Just layers of armor. Thick, dense, redundant. The more they scanned, the stranger it seemed. "Why would they design something like this?" a Threx analyst whispered. "It's inefficient, overbuilt, excessive. And those weapons," another added, narrowing their eyes. "They're not energy-based." "Impossible," came the reply. "No advanced species still relies on primitive kinetics." Yet the data didn't lie. Inside the central command chamber of the human ship, the atmosphere was calm. No rush. No tension. Officers stood at their stations, quietly monitoring the swarm of foreign vessels surrounding them. A young ensign glanced at the external feed, where multiple alien ships were visibly turning to observe them. "They're laughing at us," he said. The captain, an older figure with a steady gaze, didn't react immediately. He simply watched the same feed, his expression unreadable. "Of course they are," he replied. "Should we explain anything?" the ensign asked. The captain shook his head. "Not yet." Back in the Alliance observation ring, a representative finally opened a direct channel. "Human delegation," the voice echoed, polite but laced with thinly veiled curiosity. "We request clarification. Is this vessel your official entry for the showcase?" There was a brief pause before the human response came through. Calm, unhurried. "Yes." Another pause followed, longer this time. "That vessel appears outdated by Alliance standards. On dozens of decks, alien officials leaned closer, waiting for the explanation, for the justification, the apology, the correction. Instead, the human captain spoke again. "This is one of our older ships." Silence fell. No elaboration. No defense. Just that. And somehow, that made it worse. The laughter didn't stop immediately. Even after the humans' calm declaration, amusement still rippled through the Alliance observation decks. To most, it sounded like an excuse, an attempt to save face after presenting something so clearly inferior. But not everyone was laughing. Across the command tiers of the Valkyrie flagship, a senior systems analyst leaned closer to her console, her crest tightening in concentration. "Run a deeper scan," she ordered. "We already did," her subordinate replied. "There's nothing unusual. No advanced shielding, no phase shift lattice, no." "Do it again." Reluctantly, the subordinate complied. Moments passed. Then, "That's not possible." The analyst's eyes narrowed. "What did you find?" "It's not what we found," the subordinate said slowly. "It's what we can't find." Similar conversations were unfolding across multiple fleets. The human ship wasn't just primitive, it was inconsistent. Its structure defied standard design logic. There was no central power core that could be identified, no primary command nexus. Instead, energy readings appeared scattered, distributed across dozens, possibly hundreds of independent systems. "That makes no sense," a Threx tactician muttered. "How do they coordinate anything?" "They shouldn't be able to," another replied. And yet, the ship functioned flawlessly. More scans followed, more detailed, more invasive. The results only deepened the unease. The armor wasn't just thick. It was layered in ways that suggested intentional redundancy far beyond necessity. Beneath the outer plating were additional layers, each composed of different materials, each serving a separate purpose. Some absorbed heat. Others dispersed kinetic force. Some couldn't even be identified. "Why would anyone design a vessel to take damage like this?" a Valkyrie observer whispered. No one had an answer. Attention slowly shifted to the weapons. At first glance, they appeared crude. Massive cannons mounted along the ship's flanks, entirely mechanical in structure. No energy build-up. No exotic particles. No sign of advanced targeting systems. But as scanners focused more closely, something strange emerged. "There's no emission signature," an Ilari weapons specialist said. "That's impossible," her counterpart replied. "All weapons produce some form of detectable output. Not these." A silence followed. "Then how do they function?" The question lingered unanswered. Inside the human battleship, the bridge remained composed. "Multiple scan locks," an officer reported. "They're digging deeper now." "Let them," the captain said. "They're going to figure it out," the ensign added, a hint of tension creeping into his voice. The captain finally looked at him. "No," he said quietly. "They won't." Back outside, Alliance analysts began running combat simulations. It started as routine, an academic exercise. Then the results came in. "Run it again." "I did." "Then your model is flawed." "It's not," the analyst insisted. "I've recalibrated 3 times." On screen, the simulation played out. A standard Alliance cruiser engaged the human vessel. Energy weapons struck first, precise, devastating, capable of cutting through most known armor. They hit. The human ship didn't break. It didn't even slow down. "Impossible," someone whispered. "Adjust output," another ordered. Maximum yield. The simulation reset. Again, the cruiser fired. Again, the human vessel endured. Not untouched, but unaffected in any meaningful way. Damage registered across its outer layers, but internal systems remained operational. Weapons stayed online. Propulsion was unchanged. "Why isn't it failing?" the analyst demanded. "Because it's not designed to avoid damage," another voice said slowly. "It's designed to survive it." The realization spread like a quiet ripple. This ship wasn't built for elegance. It wasn't built for speed. It wasn't even built for efficiency. It was built to keep fighting, no matter what. Then came the final anomaly. "Targeting systems," an Ilari specialist said. "I can't map them." "What do you mean, you can't map them?" "There's no centralized targeting array. No predictive AI lattice. Nothing we recognize." "Then how do they aim?" The answer came seconds later. "They don't predict." Every eye turned to the screen as new data streamed in. "They calculate in real time," the analyst said, her voice tightening. "Pure physics. Velocity, mass, trajectory." A pause. "Impact certainty." The room fell silent, because suddenly the question was no longer what the human ship was. It was why it had been built that way. By the time the request was made, the mood across the Galactic Alliance had shifted. The laughter was gone. In its place lingered something quieter, curiosity sharpened by unease. The human vessel remained exactly where it had entered, drifting with that same slow, deliberate presence. It had made no effort to impress, no attempt to defend itself against scrutiny. It simply existed, and endured every scan, every analysis, every silent judgment. Finally, the request came through official channels. "Human delegation," the Alliance speaker began, their voice steady but cautious. "The Council requests a demonstration of your vessel's capabilities." There was a pause, brief, almost thoughtful. Then the reply. "Approved." No hesitation. No negotiation. That, more than anything, unsettled them. A suitable target was selected, a lifeless moon orbiting the outer edge of the dying star system. Its surface was barren, its core unstable, a perfect candidate for controlled destruction. Alliance vessels repositioned themselves at a safe observational distance, forming a wide perimeter around the designated firing zone. Every sensor, every recording system, every analytical AI was focused on a single point: the human ship. Inside its bridge, the atmosphere remained calm. "Target confirmed," an officer reported. "Dead moon, 300,000 kilometers out." "Solutions?" the captain asked. "Ready. Load low yield." The ensign hesitated. "Low yield, sir." The captain nodded once. "We're not here to make a statement," he said. "We're here to make a point." Outside, dozens of alien ships aligned their sensors, expecting something dramatic. A charge-up sequence. A visible build-up of energy. Some kind of warning. Nothing happened. The human ship moved. Slowly, heavily, it rotated, its massive hull shifting with mechanical precision until its forward cannons aligned with the distant moon. There was no glow, no hum of gathering power. Just motion. "That's it," a Velcari observer murmured. "Where is the firing sequence?" "I detect no energy spike," another added. "No thermal increase." No. The human ship fired. No beam. No flash. No visible projectile. For a fraction of a second, nothing seemed to happen. Then, impact. A single point on the moon's surface collapsed inward, as if struck by an invisible hammer moving at impossible speed. A heartbeat later, the shock wave erupted outward, tearing across the barren landscape. Cracks spread instantly. Deep. Violent. Unstoppable. The moon didn't explode. It broke. Its surface split into massive segments, the crust fracturing as internal pressure failed catastrophically. Entire sections sheared apart, drifting into space as debris clouds expanded outward. Across the Alliance fleet, silence fell. No one spoke. No one moved. Because no one understood what they had just witnessed. "What was that?" someone finally whispered. "No energy signature," an analyst replied, their voice unsteady. "No radiation spike. No plasma residue." Then what caused the impact? The answer came from a trembling technician. "Mass," they said. "Pure, kinetic mass." Inside the human ship, the captain watched the external feed without emotion. "Impact confirmed," the officer said. "Target destabilized." "Good," the captain replied. "Stand by." Back among the observers, panic began. Not loud, not chaotic, but quiet and creeping. "That level of force," a Threx commander muttered. "At that distance." "It shouldn't be possible," another insisted. "No known weapon can deliver that much kinetic energy without being detected, without being stopped." A channel opened again, this time with less confidence than before. "Human vessel," the speaker said carefully, "please confirm the yield of that weapon." The response came as calmly as before. "That was a low-yield round." The words echoed across every ship. "Low yield." Several seconds passed before anyone spoke again. "Repeat that," the speaker said. "Low yield," the human captain confirmed. And for the first time since the showcase began, fear truly began to take hold. The silence that followed the demonstration did not break. It deepened. Across the Alliance fleet, observation decks remained frozen, their occupants staring at the drifting remains of the shattered moon. What had once been a solid celestial body was now nothing more than a spreading cloud of fractured stone and dust. No explosion. No flare of energy. No warning. Just impact. Inside command chambers, the first response was not panic. It was analysis. "Run full simulations," a Threx war strategist ordered sharply. "All engagement scenarios. I want outcomes against every known Alliance warship." Data streams erupted across tactical displays. Models formed. Predictions calculated. Variables adjusted. And then, results. "No," the strategist muttered. "That's incorrect. Run it again." "We already did," the analyst replied quietly. 5 times. Then change the parameters." "We have." The strategist stared at the screen. Every simulation ended the same way. Alliance ships opened with energy barrages, plasma lances, graviton beams, antimatter streams. Enough firepower to vaporize most threats within seconds. The human vessel endured. Not untouched, but unbroken. Its layered armor absorbed the initial impacts, dissipating heat, redirecting force, sacrificing outer sections while preserving inner systems. Damage accumulated, but nothing critical failed. Then came the counterattack. The human ship didn't fire rapidly. It didn't need to. One shot. One hit. One kill. Again and again, the simulations repeated the same sequence. Shields failed instantly, not because they were weak, but because they were never designed to handle that kind of force. armor collapsed, not from heat or energy, but from sheer, overwhelming impact. There was no gradual degradation, no prolonged battle, just conclusion. "This isn't warfare," someone whispered. "It's execution." Elsewhere, Valkyrie engineers reviewed the sensor logs from the demonstration. "There must be an energy component we missed," one insisted. "Some form of compressed field, or—" "There isn't," another interrupted. "Impossible. Look at the data." They did. There was nothing. No exotic particles. No subspace distortions. No trace of advanced weaponization. Just an object, moving at a speed that defied their ability to respond, delivering force beyond anything their defenses could absorb. A realization began to form, slow, creeping, undeniable. "This isn't advanced technology," the first engineer said. The other shook their head. "No," they replied. "It's something worse." Across the fleet, the same thought emerged independently, in different minds, in different languages. The human weapon didn't try to bypass defenses. It didn't disrupt them. It didn't outsmart them. It simply overwhelmed them. Completely. Inside the Alliance Command Hub, senior representatives gathered in urgent session. The usual composure was gone. Voices were lower now, edged with tension. "We must assume that demonstration was controlled," one said. "It was," another agreed. They selected a low-yield option. A heavy silence followed. "Define low yield," a third voice asked quietly. No one answered, because no one could. Attention shifted back to the human vessel. It hadn't moved since the demonstration. It remained where it was, quiet and still, as if nothing significant had occurred. "That ship," a Valkyrie commander said slowly. "They said it was old." "Yes." "Outdated." "Yes." The commander's gaze hardened. "Then why does it outperform every modern warship in the Alliance?" No one had an answer, until one voice, softer than the rest, spoke from the edge of the chamber. "Because it wasn't designed for this kind of war." All eyes turned. "What do you mean?" the speaker asked. The figure hesitated before continuing. "Our weapons evolved for efficiency, precision, energy control. We optimized for elegance, for superiority over what we understood." A pause. "But humans," the voice faltered slightly, "they built for something else." "For what?" someone demanded. The answer came, quiet and final. "For enemies that wouldn't die easily." The room fell silent, because suddenly the question was no longer about the ship, or its weapons, or even its power. It was about what kind of wars humanity had fought to make something like that necessary. The Alliance did not announce the end of the showcase. It simply dissolved. No formal closing. No final declarations. Ships began to disengage one by one, breaking formation under the quiet pretense of scheduled departures. But everyone knew the truth. They were leaving. Quickly, carefully, and with far more caution than they had arrived. Across the fleet, communication channels lit up, not with celebration or debate, but with urgent transmissions. Strategic councils were convened mid-transit. Encrypted orders were issued. Borders, once open and loosely defended, were suddenly reinforced. The shift was immediate. The human vessel remained where it was, still drifting in the cold light of the dying star. It did not pursue. It did not threaten. It made no attempt to capitalize on the unease spreading through the Alliance. It simply watched. Inside the battleship's bridge, the young ensign stood frozen, eyes fixed on the external feed. "They're leaving," he said quietly. The tactical officer nodded. "Multiple fleets disengaging. Valkyrie, Threx, Ilari, all pulling back. No aggression detected," another added. "No weapons lock." The ensign swallowed. "We didn't even do anything." The captain, standing at the center of the bridge, finally allowed himself a small exhale. "We did," he said. "We showed them." Outside, the Alliance Command Hub remained active, though its tone had changed entirely. Representatives who had once spoken with authority now measured every word carefully. "We must reassess humanity's classification," one said. "Agreed," another replied. "Their technological profile does not match our projections." "It's not just their technology," a third added. "It's their doctrine." Silence followed that word. Doctrine. Because that was what truly unsettled them. The human ship had not demonstrated elegance, precision, or superiority in the ways the Alliance understood. It had demonstrated something far more direct. Finality. "They don't fight to disable," a Valkyrie strategist said slowly. "They fight to end. And they expect resistance," another added. "Heavy resistance." A pause. As if their enemies survive everything else. No one wanted to say what that implied. Far beyond the dying star system, the effects spread rapidly. Trade routes shifted. Negotiations changed tone. Species that had once viewed humanity as a minor addition to the Alliance now revised their stance entirely. Diplomatic messages became more respectful. Military projections were quietly updated. And near every human-controlled system, one pattern repeated. Distance. Not hostility. Not fear made visible. But space. Carefully maintained, deliberately measured space. Back aboard the battleship, the ensign finally found his voice again. "Sir," he said, "permission to ask a question?" The captain nodded. "Why did we bring this ship?" the ensign asked. "We have better ones. Faster, stronger, more advanced." A faint, almost tired smile crossed the captain's face. "Because this one tells a story," he said. The ensign frowned slightly. "What kind of story?" The captain turned his gaze back to the stars, where the last of the alien fleets were already vanishing into jump space. "The kind they understand," he replied. Silence settled over the bridge. Then, after a moment, the ensign asked the question that had been lingering in his mind since the demonstration. "Should we have shown them something newer?" The captain shook his head. "No," he said. "Why not?" His eyes remained fixed on the emptying void ahead. "Because if this scared them—" A pause. "They're not ready for what comes next." The human ship remained alone in orbit. Old, scarred, quiet. But now, across the galaxy, it carried a meaning no one would forget. Not a relic. Not a joke. But a warning. Humanity did not need its best weapons to command fear. Its past was already enough.